Can ADD have an impact on sex? You bet it can. Stay tuned to find out what some of these impacts are and what to do about it. Hi, this is G.H. Glade for Coaching ADD and Sex. It's something that makes most people's ears perk up and can be a really tricky subject to navigate in a relationship. There are many factors coupled with ADD that can really have a negative influence on having a good sex life. Depression is more common for people with ADD, and sometimes the antidepressants have an impact on a person's ability to experience sexual pleasure. For particularly women, they can knock down libido. They can also keep both men and women from experiencing an orgasm. Anxiety plays a role in ADD as well. It can often be a negative effect that, again, really impacts one's sexual abilities. Sometimes people with ADD can be hypersexual. That's because that sex brings on dopamine, and dopamine is calming. Dopamine, there's nothing that doesn't feel good about a dopamine rush, but it calms you down. It allows you to focus. Sometimes hypersexuality can sometimes couple with impulsivity. The things that really sustain a relationship are trust. And when somebody acts impulsively sexually, be it affairs, be it use of porn or other things, that can really torpedo a sense of safety and trust within a relationship. Sometimes people are hyposexual. That means that they don't have much in the way of drive. It can often play out as a function of, as I said before, antidepressants can have this effect. Whenever I start somebody on antidepressants, I try and remember to remind them to tell their significant other, if there's a change in how I am with you, then if there's a change in how things are sexually, know that it's probably the medication and it is not you. We tend to assign causality mostly to ourselves. We tend to be kind of egocentric that way. And I want significant others to know that it's not anything they're doing wrong or about them if somebody is having an antidepressant side effect. Sex is a focused endeavor. And when somebody's mind wanders during sex, and it's a really common thing, that can lead to all sorts of very negative effects. It can also lead to a sense that sex is not going to be carried off successfully. After all, one of the common things is past performance isn't a guarantee of previous performance. Well, we tend to think it is. And if we anticipate our mind wandering during sex and sex not being very satisfactory, then we're far less inclined to want to engage in it. People with ADD are sometimes hypersensitive. I have had clients tell me that they are so touch hypersensitive that they feel the labels in the back of shirts. On my best day, I could never even sense it's there. But oftentimes, this hypersensitivity leads people to seeking out sensations that, while it may be good for them, it may not be so good for you. And this is something that can really get in the way of a satisfactory sexual relationship. This can be touch and smell and even sound. That hypersensitivity can really ruin a sexual activity. Now, there's not ADD over here and ADHD over here, but for people who have a high hyperactivity component, oftentimes it's really hard to calm down enough to relax enough for sex. Having a daily exercise routine really does a lot for one's neurotransmitters and helps you be physically more calm. So what to do about it? Before we launch into that, if this is a useful conversation and video for you to watch, please thump that like button. It pushes this stuff out in the algorithm. And the YouTube algorithm, it is frankly mysterious. And if you like this content, and this may be kind of difficult content for you to want to share, but you might suggest it anyway. So what to do? What to do about it? First and foremost, if you're the person with ADD, tell your partner about your difficulties. What is most important in a relationship is to talk about things. And we all come in with our comfort level in talking about sex. Some people are very comfortable, other people not so much. But I encourage you to, in a good, safe environment with your partner, talk about what that experience is like for you. You know, sex is a matter of, we don't know what's going to work for a person unless we ask, and we don't know the problems unless we ask. It also helps to change the sexual scenario up. You know, go away for a weekend away somewhere, change positions, change time of day that you engage in intimacy. It is a brain that thrives on change and stimuli, and no more is this is never more true than when it comes to sex. Now, if you're having problems that you can't talk out, go to an ADD familiar therapist. That can be oftentimes a safe space where conversation is facilitated. So we've scratched the surface, which, you know, in a short video, which is my intention to keep these fairly short, just as, like I said, I've intended to keep these videos relatively short, but this opens up some of the topics for further discussion, both with your spouse or potentially with a therapist. So if this has been a presentation that's been useful for you, again, thump that like button, and I will see you next week when I do another video. Take care, and thanks for spending this time with me.